Hi, and welcome to my kitchen. Today is a very cold November day. It's raining. We're a couple of days away from Thanksgiving, and my son asked me to make beef stroganoff. Now, this meal is not my husband's favorite meal, but my son and I absolutely love it. So I'm actually going to be making my husband something else to eat later. But I thought I would show you how I make my stroganoff. Let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a pot of water, a little bit of salt, and I'm going to get this going so that we can cook our egg noodles. I've showed you all my egg noodle recipe before. I don't think I said in the recipe, but what I like to do is I will dry my noodles. I have a dehydrator. I'll just throw them in there, dry them, and then place them in a mason jar. This is a wide mouth. And then I'll use my mason jar vacuum sealer to close them. And they're good for like 6 months, like this. So this is how I store my egg noodles. If you want to look up the recipe, it's on my channel. Now let's get everything else going to get our stroganoff. So I have a large skillet warming up over medium heat. I'm just going to put some olive oil down in the bottom of it. And then I already did this off camera. I washed and cubed my meat. It's just little pieces. If you want to use stew meat, or you can use deer, you can use beef, whatever kind of meat you would like to use. Rinse my fingers off there really quick. You can just make sure it's cubed up. We just want this pan to be warm. It's not quite warm enough yet, but we're getting there. Oh, I need to grab my, I would forget something. I don't measure anything in this recipe. I do not measure anything. I'm sorry, I don't. So I've got about this much meat. I've also diced up an onion and sliced up some mushrooms, and I've got a couple of little cloves of garlic that I'm going to crush. I'm going to use about half of this container. So this is like 16 ounces, so I'm going to use half, so about 8 ounces of sour cream. I'm going to use a little bit of mustard, some beef broth, and I also use a half a brick of cream cheese, and then I've been loving this Boursin, and I'll use half of this Boursin. This is the garlic and herb, which I really like, so I'll use half of that as well as half of the cream cheese. All right, I think my skillet is just about ready here. I'm going to put my meat in to start browning. We're going to give this a few minutes. I'll put a little salt and pepper on it and just let this start to brown. My meat has got a nice brown coat to the outside. You can still see a little bit of pink in there, but that's okay because we are going to cook this longer here in just a little bit. What I'm going to do is pull all of my beef out of my pan. Oh. My water's almost ready as well. I can hear it's starting to bubble. I've left the little bit of meat drippings in my pan. So now I'm going to take about this much butter, teaspoon and a half, more or less. I'm going to throw that in the pan with the drippings. I'm going to take my mushrooms and my onions, put them in here. Let me grab those garlic out of the way. I need to crush my garlic. Let's get this in here. I'm going to start getting these to saute down. So it'll be a few minutes, like 2.5 to 3 minutes. I'm going to crush my garlic. All this crushed down in there. There's a lot of noise going on here today. I'm sorry. My son is working on math and the washer is going. The birds are probably hollering. So we're just going to let this cook down. While that's cooking down, I'm going to take my noodles here. And, hi, that's sealed. Get that seal broken and get my noodles on to cook. All right. So we'll be back in a few minutes. This is what we want the onions, garlic, and mushrooms to look like. So now I'm going to add my meat back in and then start adding my broth. And now I've got a jar of my bone broth. And we're just going to pour this in with it. All right, we're going to cover and let this simmer for about 10 minutes. While I've got that on simmering, I'm going to take my cream cheese. Like I said, I use half a brick here. And then with Boursin, let me get this out here. I only use a half of it as well. You can use the whole one if you want. Put those in the trash, please. But what you want to do is you want to kind of see, this is what the Boursin looks like. You can actually see the herbs in there. It's so good. But you just want to kind of crumble that cheese and break it up a little bit just to help it melt a little better when we put it in with the meat. So I'm just going to kind of cube up my cream cheese here. I've been making this recipe, oh goodness, probably close to 15, 18 years, somewhere in there. I didn't make it often because my husband didn't like it, but my son, let me tell you, he loves the stuff. And I do too. So it's a special treat for us. All right, I've got my cheese all kind of smushed up here. And we're just going to wait on the meat to finish and our noodles to finish cooking. The battery in my microphone died, so I am having to do a voiceover. I'd asked my son if he would turn the pasta off as it was done cooking, and I am getting ready to make a slurry to add into the broth. A slurry is just equal parts water and cornstarch. So I'm just going to get that mixed up really well and then put it in to thicken up my stroganoff. After I add my slurry, I then add some brown mustard, about a teaspoon. I used a spicy brown, but if you want to use regular or your favorite flavor of mustard, you can. The Boursin and cream cheese also go in at this stage. My son is stirring in the cheese so that it does not burn, and I am draining the egg noodles. Okay, now that that has all melted down in there, I'm going to take my sour cream and add let me see this. Let's get all that in there. Okay, very carefully stir that in. Now that we've got everything all melted in here together, I've put our noodles in a bowl, and I'm just going to scoop up, pour it right over top of those egg noodles. And now it's ready to serve. This is a very hearty dish. It'll keep you full and it will keep you warm, especially when the temperatures are dropping outside. And we absolutely love it. Thank you for joining me today, and happy cooking.